Dude, we're gonna wrap this up in 57 minutes. We're not going to 1 hour.
No, that's good.
I don't know how he does it.
I listen to them, and it takes me like 2 weeks because you're like on, and then like you just got to fast forward the shitty bits.
Well, I go through periods where I'm like just devouring them one after the other, and then I go through periods where I'm like, I'll see one, and I go 3.5 hours. I go, not this month.
No,
I'm not doing it. So, because I reckon, I actually genuinely think, because I was talking to somebody about podcasting, and I get asked, should I start a podcast from people because they've had podcasts? I mean, I've had a podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And I always say to them, only if you want to do it for a hobby or you have plans to I forgot my point, but I'll tell you what I was going to say.
You're almost there.
Plans to monetize it through a product that you sell.
Yes.
What I'm trying to say is, I tell people you should start a podcast if you really want to do it, but don't really expect to monetize it super well.
Totally.
Especially through sponsorship. You can monetize podcasts through selling your services really well. And the point I was trying to get to was, I've listened to, because people, you listen to 3 hours of someone in your head, you fucking trust and like that person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which you with a marketing background, that's half the battle won.
Yeah.
And then Rogan is actually, I reckon in the last 10 years, an aggregate of the male voices I've heard inside of my earlobes, he dwarfs my father, beats my brother, and fucking is probably like more than any of my best mates.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Dude.
That's a wild concept.
But that's podcasting.
Yeah.
And so whether it's Rogan or whoever you're listening to, I try and explain this to and I'm sure you've tried to do this too with clients or people who want to sponsor my podcast. I'm like, first of all, I say, do you listen to podcasts? Because if they don't understand the world that we're living in.
Yeah, that's right.
This is someone who you're walking around with. This is someone who you trust. They're a part of your routine. And that's why the uptake from podcasts is so strong, because you're actually listening. So, podcast promo, it's only going to build exponentially.
Yeah, and it's the realest form of content,
Yeah.
We've gone through this era of like all of the people that we follow and so forth. They're all celebrities that are, the Brad Pitts and the Johnny Depps and the Will Smiths, all these guys, and LeBron James and Tom Brady and all these people that we've held in such high regard. I actually have a real problem with the whole celebrity kind of culture, but this is the best version of it because it's you can't go on Joe Rogan and hide. You can't pretend that you're somebody else,
Yeah, man.
You can't have a threat. It's just impossible.
But that's why I love that, because you get the storyteller comedians because there are so many comedians who aren't funny.
Yeah.
And you get them off stage and they can't tell a story because a lot of their routine is rote.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the actor in their own life.
Yeah.
So you've got to be naturally funny or have, you've got to at least come from a place of honesty. And from there, we're going to find out whether you're funny, and not everyone can do that. So that's a real... Philip or feather in the cap for comedians to show everyone, hey, check this out. It's awesome. And there's nothing like letting people in. And look, this is like reality TV. It's like proper reality TV without the editing.
More real than reality TV.
Totally.
Think of Big Brother.
No, I know, but this is what I'm saying, without the editing.
Yeah,
without the fucking bullshit, or without playing a role to win a prize. And I think so many people in the entertainment game are still playing a role once the lights are on. I know so many 100%. Fucking actors who are like pretending to be something they're not, just because they reckon that kind of posturing or angle as a person, as a demographic, will get them more roles.
Yeah, for sure.
And you couldn't do that really as a comedian. It's going to be a tough slog.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's one really interesting thing about that whole thing you said about, proving that you are actually funny. One of the guys we mentioned earlier, Sebastian Maniscalco, have you ever listened to him on a podcast?
Yeah.
I really like him.
Yeah.
But his persona, from his on-stage persona and his performance that he puts on, compared to him sitting down, could not be more, chalk and cheese. And I was like, I don't really care, because when I watch him, I'm like, this is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Sure.
But he's such a reserved, quiet. He even seems shy. It's a really...
Well, he's already come out and said he's a introvert, shy person. But he's funny because we've already seen him be funny. If he hadn't, front loaded our brains with we'd like, you know what I mean?
You'd be like, who's this bloke?
You're like, this guy's not... But he's still funny to listen to on the podcast, and I love those real conversations.
Yeah, no, me too. I think he's a great guy. And I don't need to be laughing at everything that's like Rogan,
Yeah.
Rogan's. I don't think he's funny on his podcast. He's witty and he can be funny.
Yeah.
But he's just an interesting dude, and that's totally fine by me. It was just like Theo. I think is an example of someone who's funny 365 days of the year, 360 degrees.
Yeah.
Everything about him is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he, even at his most realist, he's just incredibly.
He's nuts,
silly.
though. He's nuts because I've listened to. Truth be told, I've only listened to Theo recently in the last 2 or 3 weeks because I wanted to listen to either an interview with Sebastian Maniscalco or David Spade or someone like that.
He had Spade on his show.
Yeah. So epic storyteller, funny dude. So then I'm listening to Theo, and Theo's funny, but he's got so much to work on. As we all do, you've got to be working to get better and better. But I think he can be so much better in other areas, but he's great with his unique storytelling, and he really plays his forehand there.
He's unique. He's definitely unique.
Do you know what I mean? But I want to see his stand-up. I'd love to see more of his stand-up because all those guys, they get out a lot. They get out every night, and they've got their little crew. Theo Von's out with...
That's a solid crew over
dude,
there.
And that makes it so much more fun. Whenever I'm doing gigs and I'm doing it with buddies, it's fucking awesome. Because it doesn't...
Fun.
Yeah, it doesn't
Because
matter.
I listen to all their podcasts. D'Elia, Rogan... Shaw and Callan, Theo Von, and that crew, because Andrew Schultz, the comedian?
Yeah, I don't know him personally, but I'm now
he's coming into your path there. So I've listened to Andrew Schultz a little bit. He's from New York, and he always talks about how he's fucking spewing he's not in LA.
Oh, really?
Because he'd be part of that clique. Their whole, all that little comedic group, their whole brands have just built each other's brands.
Sure.
And just blown it all up.
Yeah.
And it's been, and Tom Segura and, all those guys too. They're Rogan's mates to a big degree, but to a lesser with the other guys. But, I reckon it'd be great fun, like you said, but it's also great to piggyback off each other and help each other grow.
Oath, man.
Because that's what you would have done a lot coming up through the Nova ranks and stuff, right? Because I was looking on your website and whatever earlier, and I saw yourself rubbing shoulders with the Ed Cavaliers and the guys that did the castle, that creative team. And
Working Dog, yeah.
Working Dog guys and Husey and Kate. That would have been great because the whole Nova and Melbourne comedy community is pretty tight, right?
Yeah.
In a similar way.
Definitely. You've got to leverage from people and comedians in different ways. You leverage in knowledge and learning, but also in audience.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you've got to try and parallel those audience leverages into the right platform, which is interesting because a lot of the people who you just mentioned are not on Instagram. I mean, Husey is, but the other guys aren't. They're
no, you're right, yeah.
They're way off it. They're barely on Twitter.